Hello and welcome. In our crazy, hectic, always-on world, doesn't stress and burnout just feel, well, normal? But what if I told you the key to inner peace wasn't about escaping your work, but actually transforming your entire relationship to it? Today, we're going to explore something called Nishkama Karma, an ancient idea from karma yoga that offers a really powerful path to finding calm right in the middle of our modern lives.
So let's just start with the big question, right? For so many of us, our jobs, our careers, they're a huge source of pressure. But what if we could flip that script entirely? What if the very things you do every single day could become your path to freedom instead of feeling like a chain? Let's find out how.
Okay, first things first. Let's really get to the heart of the problem. Why is it that modern work so often feels like we're just completely trapped? Well, it really boils down to our nonstop focus on the fruits of our labor. The promotion, the bonus, the praise. This constant craving for external validation. It creates this vicious cycle of pressure, and that leads straight to workaholism and, as I'm sure many of you know all too well, total burnout. We end up chained to outcomes that we don't even fully control.
And this is where this ancient philosophy comes in. It offers us a profound choice, really. It presents two fundamentally different ways to approach our actions. And because of that, two different ways to approach our lives.
The words themselves are just so revealing. Sakama literally means with desire. It's action that's driven by a selfish craving for a specific result. Nishkama, on the other hand, means desireless action. It's about performing your duty, doing your work, without being desperately attached to the outcome.
And wow, this table just lays it all out so clearly. On one side, you've got Sakama Karma. The motivation, external rewards. The outcome, burnout, and what's called samsara, this endless, stressful cycle. It's considered rajasika, full of aggression and passion. But then, on the other side, there's Nishkama Karma. The motivation here is inspiration, a sense of duty. The outcome is steady peace and moksha, spiritual liberation. This path is sattva. It's all about purity, balance, and calm.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory, right? This is a powerful idea that's been shaped and taught by some of the greatest spiritual thinkers in history. Let's see how they each brought their own wisdom to it.
Mahatma Gandhi called it anasakti, which means non-attachment. And what's so important to get here is that this doesn't mean being lazy or not caring. It's about freeing yourself from that desperate, anxious hankering for a specific result, because that's the real source of our stress. Then you have the great philosopher Shankara, who gives us this really nuanced take. He taught that the goal isn't to become some kind of robot with no desires at all. It's about purifying your desires. It's about letting go of that selfish, wicked desire for your own personal gain, and instead fueling a righteous desire for something higher, for truth itself.
Ramanuja saw it as a pure act of devotion, or bhakti. From this point of view, every single thing you do becomes an offering. You're not working to pump up your own ego. You're doing it to serve a higher purpose, surrendering the results to the divine.
And finally, Madhva framed it as enlightened activity. This is where you consciously mix wisdom with your actions. By doing that, you keep your mind centered and steady, so it doesn't get tossed around by the waves of success or failure out there in the world.
Okay, so that's all pretty profound, right? But how do we actually take this wisdom and apply it to our 9-to-5, our quarterly reports, our Zoom calls? Let's get really practical.
So here are 5 principles you can start using, like today. Number 1. Detach from the results. Pour your energy into the quality of the work itself, not the reward. 2. Be mindful. Be fully present with whatever you're doing. 3. Find your inspiration. See your job as a way to grow and achieve excellence for its own sake. 4. Consciously let go of negative stuff, like jealousy or greed at the office. And 5. Build an ethical foundation. Act for the good of everyone, not just for yourself.
Think about it. Picture an executive who's completely fried, totally burned out from the pressure of hitting quarterly targets. By applying these ideas, they start to shift their focus. Instead of obsessing over the numbers, their main goal becomes simply serving their team as best they can. The numbers might still come, who knows? But their inner world completely transforms, from one of anxiety to one of purpose and, well, peace.
Okay, so what happens when you actually practice this over time? Well, you start to cultivate this incredibly powerful and steady state of mind. Let's take a closer look at what that actually feels like.
The ultimate goal really is to become what's known as a sthita prajna. It literally means one who is situated in wisdom, a sage with a steady mind. This is a person who has found true equanimity. They don't get shattered by failure, but they also don't get carried away by success. They stay centered, calm, and clear,
no matter what life throws at them.
The Bhagavad Gita gives us this perfect image to understand this state. It compares the steady sage to a tortoise. Just like a tortoise can pull its head and legs into its shell to protect itself, the sage learns to withdraw their senses from all the distracting things out there in the world.
And just to be super clear here, we're not talking about becoming a hermit and shutting yourself off from the world. No, it's about mastering your inner world. By practicing this kind of withdrawal, you stop being a slave to every little impulse, every passing craving or aversion. You get the freedom to choose your response, instead of just reacting all the time.
So how do we build that inner shell? Well, the philosophy gives us these amazing tools called the Shat Sampati, or the 6 virtues. The first 3 you see here are Sama, which is inner peace, Dhamma, control over the senses, and Samadhana, which is that ability to have one-pointed focus. These, along with a few others, are really the foundation for a steady mind.
And the whole point of cultivating these virtues is just so beautiful. They work to cleanse your mind of all the noise and distractions, and they dissolve what are called the knots of the heart. You know, all those tangled up attachments and fears that our ego creates. And what's left is this incredible clarity and inner freedom.
So, we've talked about the problem, the philosophy, the psychology. Now, let's bring it all home. How can you start this journey right here, right now?
And here's the most important takeaway, I think. Nishkama Karma isn't just for saints doing monumental things. It's a practice that's available to you in every single moment. It's about the intention you bring to washing the dishes, to writing an email, to listening to a colleague. It's about doing each small thing with your full attention for its own sake, without being attached to the outcome.
And that really brings us to the final question, which isn't for me to answer, it's for you. In one small way, in one simple action, how are you going to practice this steady wisdom today?
It was a real pleasure exploring Nishkama Karma with you. If you found this path to inner peace valuable, I'd be so grateful if you'd consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. We'll continue to explore more of this ancient wisdom for our modern lives together. Thank you.